I just returned from a great trip out to western Colorado. A little mountain biking, a little hiking. I quickly realized that 62, those aren't great at 12,000 feet. As part of that trip, we stopped by a little town near Crested Butte called Tin Cup. And it's home to about 20, 25 people. And it's also home to Frenchie's Cafe, which is the best apple pie and ice cream in America. And as we prepared to go inside Frenchie's, we noticed a lot of ATV folks out on the road. They all come up from Denver and across the country to ride four-wheelers on the Forest Service trails. And a woman was pretty frustrated. She held up her cell phone and she goes, "I have no bars. I have no reception. How do these people communicate?" And I kind of looked around, and there was a little part of me as I saw people in Tin Cup talking on the dirt roads or near their mailbox or on their front porch. That little part of me thought Tin Cup got it right. I'm not sure the tourist had it right. As I thought about what to share with you today, I stumbled across a great line in a book that I'm reading this summer. The book's called Cutting for Stone. And the line is, "Not only our actions, but our omissions will determine our destiny." I want to talk to you about a couple things today on our theme of purpose. And that is learning to recognize gratitude and thankfulness. I grew up in a great place, Viney, Minnesota, not far from here. Population about 40, 30 in the winter when everyone goes south. We had dirt roads back in the 60s and 70s. In the summer, the population swells to hundreds. We're smack dab in Lakes Country. I learned a lot about giving and living from my old Lutheran country church. Everyone was Norwegian, a Lutheran. If you weren't, you didn't admit it. I remember sitting in that cold church basement listening to our superintendent from Sunday school read letters out loud from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. That's where our offering went. And she often cried as she read that letter. And I never really knew why. I grew up, became a reporter, made a lousy salary, but saw a good part of the world. And that's when it hit me. The villages I slept in and the people I ate with in Mongolia, Haiti, Angola, Africa, they lived like most of the world lives, not like we do in this insulated upper Midwest. And that's when I got the bug, doing documentaries around the world and following local medical teams here from Fargo Moorhead. Like a lot of young professionals, I thought, hey, this is my chance to help the world. Instead, I became the learner, and the third world became my teacher. I learned what it meant to be a mother in the middle of a civil war in Africa, and how thankful she was to get a quilt from ladies right here in Fargo Moorhead. And when doctors from our area traveled to Peru and Haiti to repair the cleft lips of children, it was their families that taught us gratitude and thankfulness. And it would be a young boy from Haiti looking in the mirror to see his face changed. The third world can be really depressing. I've witnessed medical miracles and people trying to save the most innocent only to fail, but I've also seen victories. I'm part of a surgical team here from Fargo Moorhead that travels to Haiti. We'll be going on our 16th trip here in January. One year we came across Charlie, a 7-year-old, badly burned from her neck all the way down to her toes. And the hospital had basically written her off. Too intensive, lack of medicine, lack of labor. And so for the next 4 days, we worked with a satellite phone to try to get her a passport and a visa and an airplane to airlift her back to America. And eventually we were able to do that. Weeks later, she returned to Haiti. And every year she comes to visit us now. In fact, her family gave us 3 goats as a way to say thank you. The thing is, we had to eat them, which was kind of grim. We also learned a lot from this boy, Maximo. This is where he lives with 6 other people. He's an orphan, a victim of spina bifida, and we spotted him dragging himself along the road. Today, he's got a concrete home, and he's got a hand-driven wheelchair. And so from him, we learned gratitude and thankfulness. I remember accepting the invitation from a Fargo-Moorhead physician to travel to Mongolia. The mission was to bring 2 Mongolian children back to Fargo for open-heart surgery. And this is forever burned in my memory. As we approached his house, the mother met us with a spoonful of horse milk that she threw at us. Kind of a weird welcome wagon, but... and so we left Mongolia. We took her only son that she had and 1 other girl, and we made the flight to Fargo. One barely made that flight. And then there were the surgeries. One went very successful. The other, Munchie Bug, the surgery went tough, and she barely made it, but the staff worked over and over to save her, and she made it. But that wasn't the story. This was the thankfulness. After weeks of recuperating here in Fargo, the boy and the girl prepared to leave here. Despite a language barrier, you could see it was tough for them to leave. It was a bitter goodbye. This was thankfulness, and that right there, that's gratitude. Finally, a story from Vietnam that would forever change me. I traveled with a group of Vietnam veterans back to Vietnam for the first time since the war. The goal was to climb a hill that they lost their buddies on back in June of 1969. Lost on that day was a medic, Joe LaPointe, a conscientious objector, eventually a Medal of Honor recipient. Among those climbing that hill with us that day would be his wife, Cindy, and his son, Joe. Joe was only 3 months old at the time when his dad died in Vietnam. After hours of climbing that hill, an emotional journey, they burned the etchings from the Vietnam Wall of the buddies they lost that day. This was forgiveness. This was healing. This was gratitude and thankfulness. Some people have artwork on their fridge. I have a picture of this guy. We met him in Haiti. He came with his face covered in a towel. He asked if there was anything we could do to help him with his breathing. We knew we couldn't do anything for the tumor, but after a 4-hour surgery, we were able to relieve some of his breathing difficulties. He walked out 2 days later, but not before thanking us. That's gratitude. Before I close, how gratitude can come full circle. The superintendent I first told you about, she's now in her 80s, doesn't teach Sunday school anymore, but she still cooks a mean fall supper at the church, and a lot of the proceeds go to Fargo-Moorhead Haiti Medical Mission. And it's just part of her continuing mission that I learned about as a 7-year-old, so I guess it paid off to go to 12 years of Lutheran Sunday school. And some takeaways from doing stories around the globe the last 31 years. And that is strength through adversity. Whether you're that mom from Angola we saw earlier, in a village, a refugee camp surrounded by landmines, or you're a family in Haiti that's still trying to recover from the earthquake, or perhaps you're a young girl from Hankinson, North Dakota.
We'll get some poof in there.
At the Ye Olde Barbershop in downtown Hankinson today,
Pretty.
stylist Cindy Pitts curled and twirled the hair of homecoming candidate Kelly Stein.
Look at that.
Kelly has always been a part of the fabric here in Hankinson with this tight-knit senior class since she was just 4.
You know, they were just so accepting of her. Because even at grade K, you could tell that the kids were special. There was just something neat about them.
Have they seen you twirl?
Today, time for the homecoming ceremony. A pretty blue dress for this queen candidate. She sure looked and felt like royalty.
Let me see. Twirl.
I have traveled sea and mountain,
The anticipation began to build at the high school this afternoon as the town began to gather for the homecoming coronation.
The movies that you watch, the Disney movies, like the Enchanted movies, I think, you know, those types of things with the princess in them, this is kind of like her movie, I think.
Kelly, Cindy, did your hair so pretty.
What a day for this family. Seeing this little girl growing up,
She's always been a joy for our family.
teaching so many life lessons along the way, learning from her how to live with setbacks through smiles and tears. Today, enjoying the moment.
I think they've taught her and she's taught them. And it's just a wonderful thing.
They clapped as Kelly, the candidate, walked into a packed house. The proud family could only sit back and take it all in. Moments later, the town watched as last year's queen, Kelly Stein, turned her from candidate to queen. What a journey for this 19-year-old senior, her classmates, like family,
It's unbelievable. Their gesture makes them all royalty.
helping make this girl's storybook tale come true.
It really means a lot to us.
And it's huge. It's such a selfless act. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's amazing.
Sure, there are other girls across prairie towns tonight wearing a homecoming crown, but no one is humbler, happier than Kelly Joy Stein from Hankinson. The jewels just seem to shine a bit brighter.
Kelly.
From Hankinson, Kevin Wallevand, WDAY 6 News.
And so we spend a lot of time looking for purpose in life. I think sometimes we have to let purpose find us. Thank you.